Wisdom, the final frontier to true knowledge. Welcome to Wisdom Trek, where our mission is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. Hello, my friend. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, your captain on our journey to increase wisdom and create a living legacy. Thank you for joining us today as we explore wisdom on our second millennium podcast. This is day 1073 of our trek, and time for our Philosophy Friday series. Each Friday, we will ponder some of the basic truths and mysteries of life and how they can impact us in creating our living legacy. As we continue on this trek that we call life, sometimes we have questions about life, so our Friday's trek is a time where we can Ask Gramps. Gramps will answer your questions that you would like to ask your dad or granddad, but for whatever reason, this is not possible. No matter how old we are, I know that all of us would like the opportunity to ask Dad or Gramps questions about life in many areas. After investing 31 weeks focusing on the Enneagram, we are switching back to our regular Ask Gramps episodes. We may mix it up a bit on our Friday's episodes, but we will strive to keep them down to earth and enjoyable. If you have been a long-time listener to Wisdom Trek, you may remember that 19 months ago, I fell off a ladder and fractured my femur bone right below the hip ball. The operation to repair it required a rod inserted down the center of my femur through the hip socket, with screws placed in the hip ball and another one right above my kneecap to hold the rod securely in place. On the day that this podcast originally airs, I am scheduled for outpatient surgery to have the rod and the screws removed. Since I do exercise a lot, the rod and the screws are continually rubbing on my thigh and hip muscles, causing an irritating amount of low-level pain. I could leave the rod and screws in my leg for the remainder of my life, but given the option to have them removed, I chose the latter. So the question for this week is, hey Gramps, even though your surgery is outpatient and should not cause a problem, are you afraid or fearful to have the operation? So our title today is, Are You Afraid, Gramps? That's a great question. None of us like to have our bodies cut open, let alone choosing to have the procedure when it is not required. I have heard this question before. What is the difference between major surgery and minor surgery? When you strip away all the other concerns, major surgery is when it is performed on you, minor surgery is when it is performed on someone else. And I can attest to that. Anytime that you have to be put out completely under anesthesia, there is a heightened risk of complications. That is certainly one concern. During the operation, the surgeon will need to make 3 incisions to remove the rod and the 2 screws, and the primary cut for the rod will be about 3 inches long. That is also a concern, as there is a lot of bleeding and subsequent bruising. On top of these 2 concerns, I had to take into consideration that when I had the original surgery, my pulse dropped dangerously low 3 times, in the emergency room, during the operation, and once afterward. We were told that the surgeon did give me a shot of adrenaline to stimulate my heart during surgery. My low heart rate is partially due to the fact that I am in very good shape physically, and I do a lot of running. So prior to the accident, my resting heart rate was only 50 beats per minute. So back to the question, Gramps, are you afraid? I have to admit that as I record this podcast, which is the day before my surgery, there's a bit of both of excitement and trepidation. I am excited that after a period of recovery, I will no longer suffer the ongoing pain caused by the rod and the screws, but I also realize that no surgery is risk-free. While there is some apprehension, I would not classify it as intense fear. First of all, I realize that God is ultimately in control of all things, including every breath that I take. If something were to go wrong during the surgery, God is aware of it, and He is in control of the situation, even guiding the hands of the surgeon. Second, while there are times that we need to be cautious so that we don't put ourselves in harm's way, throughout the Bible, we are exhorted not to be afraid or fearful. I can rest in the fact that I have taken care of myself physically, so that I am very healthy going into the surgery. I have taken care of my mental and emotional states, so I am prepared emotionally and mentally. I have a strong family support system that will be with me during the surgery, but also help on the rehabilitation afterward. I have also prepared myself spiritually by investing time in God's Word and in prayer on a daily basis for many years, so I can take to heart the verse in Philippians chapter 1, verse 6. I am certain that God, who has begun a good work within you, will continue his work until it is finally finished on the day when Jesus Christ returns. Lastly, I can rest peacefully both before and after the operation, realizing that God has proclaimed in his word that I have nothing to fear, as referenced in the following verses. Psalms chapter 91, verse 1. Those who live in the shelter of the Most High will find rest in the shadow of the Almighty. Isaiah chapter 41, verse 10. Don't be afraid, for I am with you. Don't be discouraged, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will hold you up with my victorious right hand. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. For God has not given us a spirit of fear and timidity, but of power, love, and self-discipline. And finally, Matthew chapter 11, verses 29 and 30. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle at heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy to bear, and the burden I give you is light. There are many more verses that I can draw on from God's Word. I am confident that the surgery will be successful and that God will abundantly bless and prosper as I continue to follow him in building his kingdom here on earth. So that being said, Gramps, are you afraid? And I can truthfully say, in God, I stand confidently. Join us again next Friday as we have another question on our Ask Gramps episode. Our next trek will be Meditation Monday, where we will help you to reflect on what is most important in life. So encourage your friends and family to join us and to come along with us on Monday for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. If you'd like to listen to any of the past 1072 daily treks or read the Wisdom Journals, they are all available at wisdom-trek.com. And I encourage you to subscribe to Wisdom Trek on your favorite podcast player so that each day will be downloaded to you automatically. And thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor. But most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. And as we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and then leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and then create a great day every day. See you on Monday.